Michelle Obama goes to Princeton for free.
Yeah.
And has been the ruling class her whole life.
Yeah.
And she's still lecturing you about how she's a victim of racism. Hillary Clinton, exact same thing. Goes to Wellesley, spends her entire life in the ruling class, and she's still whining about how she's discriminated against. Why are they doing that?
Yeah. And did you ever see, they'll have like pictures of side by side, but it'll be like pictures of like Jimmy Carter's house and Obama's house.
Exactly.
And it totally represents something about the like corroding of our soul.
In a white neighborhood, you should be required to live in the hood if you're Barack Obama. And
if you're using that card.
You use that card. The only reason you got elected was because of your race. You spent your entire 8 years inflaming race hate in our country, and then you go to Martha's Vineyard, the whitest zip code in the world? Not allowed.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to do that.
The mainstream narrative surrounding the Obama legacy was completely ripped apart by this Tucker Carlson guest, and let's just say it wasn't pretty. From identity politics to enormous financial gains, this conversation exposed everything, leaving you practically speechless. But wait, what did he just say? Carlson Tucker was clearly shocked, but are we really shocked at this point? The hypocrisy is simply too great to ignore. Before we go directly into revealing the facts they just disclosed, hit the like button and subscribe for more in-depth analysis of stories the media won't cover. Did you subscribe? If so, great. Let's get started. Okay, when Barack Obama took office in 2008, his estimated net worth was $1.3 million. That's not a lot of money for a U.S. senator, but fast forward to today, and he's sitting on $70 million or more. That's quite the upgrade, isn't it? And of course, we're all aware. It's not as though there is a well-functioning system of influence, favors, and money-back channels working behind the scenes. So it's not reasonable to assume that this enormous fortune comes only from speaking engagements and book deals. The guest on Tucker Carlson explained how identity politics have grown to be among the most profitable industries in contemporary history, and guess who has been making the most money? The Obamas, Clintons, and Bidens. It's like a gold mine of victimization, and they've made it into a multi-million-dollar industry. This is where things start to get really crazy. Tucker's visitor made a point that we should have all seen coming. By this point, the same individuals who frequently lecture the nation about privilege, systemic oppression, and unfairness are also purchasing multi-million-dollar homes in Hawaii's Martha's Vineyard.
In 2008, first of all, it was just leaving how you feel about the guy aside, it was an amazing campaign. It was unlike anything that had ever been run before.
It was genius.
Yes, it was totally brilliant. It was now, of course, it wasn't what they presented it as. It wasn't like a grassroots campaign. It was,
let's sort of like elect the black guy and get past the race stuff. I loved that.
Well, especially because that was his message.
That was his message.
And let's get past the race stuff.
I love that.
He goes, then I think essentially what happened, and it was around Obama's re-election campaign, this is where things really went off the rails in this country, was that he got in there and continued and expanded all the worst of the Bush policies.
Oh, of course.
And so they almost had nothing to run on, and so they decided to pivot to a culture war instead.
Is it really true that Michelle Obama spends millions of dollars on beachfront estates while still expressing dread for her daughters in America? Does she really think she's going through the same difficulties as regular Americans? Because as far as I can tell, most oppressed people don't reside in $12 million mansions on private islands.
Many of us still live in fear as we go to the grocery store or worry about walking our dogs or allowing our children to get a license. I mean, just imagine.
Aren't your girls driving?
They're driving.
Yeah.
But every time they get in a car by themselves, I worry about what assumption is being made by somebody who doesn't know everything about them. The fact that they are good students and polite girls, but maybe they're playing their music a little loud. Maybe somebody sees the back of their head and makes an assumption. I, like so many parents of black kids, have to, that the innocent act of getting a license.
Since this is where things start to become truly interesting, let's now discuss the numbers. Barack Obama bills about $400,000 for each speech. Michelle Obama received up to $700,000. And the Clintons earned over $230 million on speaking engagements. Come on, what? It's a pay-to-play game, and guess what? Ordinary Americans aren't welcome. If you believe this is just about exchanging ideas and inspiring others, you're mistaken. What precisely are they saying in these talks that's worth that much? Oh, right, they're getting paid for their influence rather than their speeches. People tend to forget that the actual money comes from book deals, media partnerships, and charitable foundations that never seem to fix any issues. Take a look at the numbers. Shortly after leaving the White House, the Obamas secured a $65 million book deal, earning $16 million in advance. Not to mention that the Clintons transformed their charity into a $230 million cash cow just 2 years after they left office. What they all have in common is that they utilize their platforms to promote identity politics and division because it keeps the money coming in.
I notice a theme here. There are a lot of extremely rich people who are deeply miserable and desperate to have you believe they're victims. What is that?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, LeBron James living in Bel Air, he's a victim. Meghan Markle went downgraded from billionaire to multimillionaire. She's a victim. They want you to know that they're all victims just because they're trying to distract us. The truth is that they view us as peasants. They're trying to make it seem like, hey, when the peasants turn against us because they're actually robbing all of them, we don't want them to look at us. We want to make them think that we're one of us. They're not one of us. They're nothing like us. They don't live like us. She has nothing that goes on in her life that is similar to the average American, yet she keeps trying to use her skin color and her complexion as a way to make people believe that she's suffering, and she's absolutely not suffering. And everyone should be aware that if you're watching this and you think that LeBron James and Meghan Markle and Barack Obama and Michelle Obama are oppressed, you are a fool. You have been fooled. They are doing just fine.
The worst part is that these same individuals who are always talking about justice and equity are the ones who stand to gain the most from dishonest financial practices. They complain about corporate greed, yet they are the companies that Americans are being forced to pay their fair share to. But they use tax havens and organizations to transfer their funds. And they complain about climate change, but they manage to fly privately to their multimillion-dollar estates without anyone noticing the pattern. Ultimately, though, this isn't a race issue. The real question is whether people are finally seeing that oppression and fighting for the underdog are really about money, power, and control. Tucker Carlson's guests simply put it all out for the world to see. So will the media continue to cover it for them while? Tell me what you think in the comments section below. And if you thought this video was eye-opening, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Your support means a lot, and I hope to see you again soon.